Did we go live? I don't know. Oh, yay. Okay, cool. Let me see. Testing, testing. Is it staticky? Let me see. Testing, testing. Is it staticky? It's not. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. There we go. Okay, let me get this pulled up then. When you figure out shit and it's really, really exciting. Okay. Oh boy. Alrighty. Well, I will probably get started. Just gonna get this out of the way, guys, so that well, I feel like it's a good thing to talk about, and so that I can get back to timelines. So I was watching the Unified Demand. They came out, well, and It's a New Day came out with I believe a video or a short on what Osbrook was saying on the Delphi After Dark channel. And honestly, like, I'm looking for Delphi After Dark right now, and I can't find it. What? Okay, hold on. This is really weird, guys. Hey, it's a new day. Hi. He quit and took his channel down. What? What happened? I'm so glad you guys caught what Osbrook said then. It's good to see you, by the way. Holy shit. That's insane. Okay, well, here, let me, do I want to do this? Yeah. Okay, let me try this. I need to share a screen, actually. I don't know, but probably mad no one was paying for his book. Oh. I wonder if it had anything to do with like a clip of the naughty video being played. Because that wasn't his fault, I don't think, you know. But does he have anywhere where he's talked about it, or the or the corn, you know? Hey, Christina. Hi. New Day was just telling me that Rick Snay's taken down his channel, and I'm really glad that New Day caught what Osbrook was talking about the other day, because I cannot find. Oh yeah, I need to share a screen. I need to actually share the screen. I'm gonna do this. Yeah, the entire screen. Share. Because like I can't find it. Hi, Critter. Hi. He was no longer going forward with his channel and didn't say why. Hey, Old Mort. Perfect timing. Nice. Hi, guys. Dude, I can't believe Snake took down his channel, man. I can't believe that. I'm so grateful that It's a New Day you caught what he said, what Osbrook said, because oh geez. Okay, let me think. It's a new day. Okay. New day Delphi. Where was it? It was yeah. Dude, I'm so glad you caught that, dude. I'm not heartbroken. I mean, I don't wish anybody ill or anything, but I'm like, I'm gobsmacked. I'm smacked in the gob by God. I don't remember seeing a post like that. I remember seeing a post like that too. He said for channel members to cancel their membership so they didn't get charged for another month because he was deleting his channel. What else was said? Yeah, that's insane. Critter. But dude, like, here, let me. I'll link this. I need to link this. We'll do paste. Do that. Because this is worth watching by itself, but let me find transcripts. Oh yeah, it's up here. Okay. So is it showing that? Yeah, it is. Yeah. Dude, I can't believe that, man. Okay, so I'm so glad then that It's a New Day and Unified Demand caught this. If you want to watch the full video, please go to It's a New Day. I don't know if I haven't checked if it's on. I'm sure I have seen if it's on, whether or not it's on Unified Demand. But yeah, I just wanted to read through this. Oh, dude, where is Snay? Why can't I see him? Whoa, guys. Snay, am I blocked from you, man? Or am I'm probably retarded. Let me. Hi, Rick. I can't see you in chat. I'm sorry. I don't think I know I didn't block you. Maybe if I go in. Why is that? Okay, hold on. Let me see. What the fuck is happening? You're alive and well. Okay. Just a knee-jerk reaction. You're so embarrassed. Why? Comment is under your link. That's so crazy. Did this thing just turn on? What happened, man? It's okay. No, it's okay if you don't want to say. I'm just shocked, man. Dude, why is it not showing up in my... Wow. Dude, well, we hope you're okay. Why? How do you... Evil, possessed, evil, creepy. Two YYs. What are two YYs? What is happening? No, I don't want to update you. Go away. Okay, so bring him in. Oh, okay. Rick, do you want to come on? Oh, Rick Snay. But why would it? Why isn't it? It's so crazy. Okay, well, hold on. Let me grab the copy, paste. If anybody wants to come in, what? You mean need to share the link another way? Why does it do this with me? Like what is it about this that it does this with me? That's so crazy. I'm sorry, Snake. Like it's not showing up in my regular chat here. And then like I hope you guys can see over here where I am. See how it rejects my comment. It's fairly common when sharing a link. You may need to share the link another way. All right. Well, Say, I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry about that. Um, yeah, I, I, I hope everything's okay, man. Like, don't forget to hit the subscribe. Oh yeah, thank you guys. Yeah, please like and subscribe here too. But also to Oh Hey Christina, It's a New Day, Unified Demand. If you guys want to put any of your links, which hopefully they'll post in the. Did I just turn it back on? I need to tie my hands behind my back. This is getting ridiculous. How do I? All right. Well, okay. Do you have links blocked on your channel? Do I? How would I have links blocked on my channel? No, because I was able to post. Yeah, I was able to post. It's a New Day's video. This is going to take more brain power than I have at the moment. So let's just focus on the thing that I wanted to talk about because I already spent like 30 minutes trying to figure out the static issue. There's only so much success I can have in a day. But no, that's a good question though. Thank you. Thank you, Critter Mama. Hey, Sunflower. Hey, guys. Yeah, so for people just coming in, Snay took down his channel. Snay was in here. And we love you, Snay. We hope you're okay, man. Like, hope everything's going okay. And very grateful to It's a New Day for capturing what Osbert talked about on Snays. Because I think I'll just read through it for you guys. Yes, thank you, Critter. Thank you. I love you guys. I love you guys. So when was this? So New Day posted this on the 14th. I think this was probably like a couple days, maybe up to a week before this, maybe. I'm not sure. So maybe June 7th around then or after. I can't remember. That Snay did this live. He had Osbrook up. And New Day managed to capture what Osbrook is talking about with the digital forensics. And for you guys who don't know, I did invite Osbrook up. I felt like I was being very cordial and polite. Yeah. Okay, well, I was just saying you, sir, are cordially invited to have a good faith discussion about the digital forensic evidence you've discussed on Delphi After Dark. Okay, wow, yeah, it is gone. No longer linked. Documented in the above video by It's a New Day and Unified Demand. You are welcome on this channel, or if uncomfortable with me, perhaps I can arrange for you to speak with other well-informed members of or creators in the community. I was gonna involuntarily volunteer New Day and artist. Sorry, guys. You were gonna be the people that I was gonna be like, you can go talk with them if you want. Or Christina, if any of you guys wanted to. I was gonna volunteer you, but I was like, I can arrange for him to speak with somebody he's more comfortable speaking with, and then But I said, if you're so inclined to engage here on this channel, you will be treated fairly and respectfully. We would like to know what you know, because he seemingly knows quite a bit. So he says during this live stream that was probably a week ago or a week or two ago, he says it's very hard to tell what the phone data means without the iPad dump, which is already interesting to me. He says, to my mind, the only truly reliable data on the phone is the original Bunner logical extraction done on the 15th. So I'm like, okay, so the 15th of February and then of 2017, right? Hi, Mandy. Hi. Directed device. I love you, New Day. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, Critter. Thank you. Okay, so yeah, he says, to my mind, the only reliable data on the phone is the original Bunner logical extraction done on the 15th of February 2017 is what I'm guessing. And logical extraction is very different from other types of extractions, which we can go into later on. But he says, because that phone was exposed to the internet, and maybe Stacey Elders, she was the I love you too. She was the what do you call that? The defense expert for the digital forensics. First list to chat with. You've always been respectful, more so than I have been, Christina. So I think you would do better with someone like you, or Artist, or even New Day, because there's some bad blood there. But I was willing to be civil. So he says, maybe Stacey Elders can tell you what was synced and what was native to the phone. I can't. Which is this insertion that after he's saying that possibly things got exposed to the internet after the February 15th, 2017 logical extraction, which is interesting. So he says, I can't, but the other thing is that phone calls, at least one, and I think more than one, show up on the call detail records that don't show up on the phone. So, what call detail records? Which phone calls? Were they incoming, outgoing, what? Also that picture of Abby, the 207 picture that we've all been talking about for a while now. Yeah, Nudie's like, I don't see much point in it. I love you so much. Yeah, Artist and Christina could do a good job, I think. Very neutral, very calm, collected. New Day and I are like, well. Yeah, we should just call Kelsey. That would solve everything, Sunflower. I love you too, Sunflower. I love all of you guys. You guys make my day. So, basically then says the picture of Abby was not in Libby's Snapchat, obviously, right? New Day. Not New Day. What is that? Low light. I don't know. They're not even close. Low light recovery found that in his I don't know what he did exactly, but he posted it on his X, right? So the picture of Abby, the 207 picture, was not in Libby's Snapchat, so it's not on her phone. And the empty bridge picture is suspect too for the following reason, because it's not on, that photo, the 205 empty bridge photo is also not in Libby's Snapchat, right? He says, it's one of the anomalies I need an explanation for. Okay, good. We agree with that. I need an explanation for it. Yeah. And in the upload section of the phone data, again, it's not the data. You have to realize these reports come from software that reads the raw data, right? So he's admitting right here that he's not necessarily trusting the programs that read, you know, the raw data, because you can have different programs or different software that reads the data and they can come to different conclusions. And I'm guessing they wouldn't be like extremely, you know, different conclusions, but I agree with him there. You know, like we're only going to get the information that the program tells us it's giving us. We aren't necessarily going in there independent of it. Hi, Carla Ann. Hi, guys. Doug's still waiting for that call. Oh my gosh. Yes. I have been making a timeline or chart just for the phone data. Oh, yes, Christina. That would be amazing. That would be so amazing. So Christina's saying, I have been making a timeline or chart just for the phone data. Let me see. Oh, yeah, I have to actually put it up here. Oh, wait. Phone data has bothered me since the other night on Unified Demand Live. There's no record of the Derek German call or the who's SC? Sorry, guys. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Because right now I'm like, Sarah Carba? No, that can't be right. Anyway, we'll leave it at that, because where was I? We're right here. Okay. So yeah. So yeah, he's again calling into question that like the software that was used to read the data on the phone could not necessarily, could just be doing what it's meant to do, but missing some of the pieces that would give away what we're looking for, right? Sarah Carbach talked to Carrie. What? For the Sarah Carbach with Carrie? What? Okay. Oh, hi, Holden. Judy. Hello. Holden to ye. So, yeah, I mean, and that's a good point. So we are beholden to the software that is basically like interpreting what the data means for us as humans. And there may be a more manual way of going in there and looking at it to truly see if things have been, you know, futzed with, for lack of a technical term, right? So yeah, because he's saying there are 4 different ones. I'm saying like which generated. I'm talking about the generated, but what's generated by the program. So there are 4. I think he's saying there are 4 different programs that he has, and they're all a little bit different. And that 2 programs were used in the 2024 extraction to look at the data done by Bunner. But the 2024 extraction is a physical extraction, which is actually more thorough than a logical extraction. These things, so it should be the most complete. Is it not just the logical? Just sucks everything off the phone. Okay, so the bigger point though is that there are different types of extractions. There are different types of programs. Two dicks. Okay. Well, if you're pronouncing it en français, it would be 2D, which is like kind of like in 2D. Hey, right side up. But 2 dicks is fine too. That's a good one. I appreciate that. Distracted from the storms. Yeah, you guys are. I've been watching. I should get Ryan Hall, y'all, up here, just so we can have him on in the background. I've been worried about people back home. Those are my peeps. Oh, yeah. I don't have it on my... I only have premium on my... Dark Arts. So I get all this stupid... Okay, good. We'll just have him there. Sorry, my computer's being really loud. Oh, no, 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 no. Don't do that. Okay. So, yeah. Oh, twin. Okay. Hi, Matt. Hi. Hi, Nancy. Hi, guys. Sorry. Glad to be distracted from the storm. Sorry. Case by Case said lots of communication on another app besides Snapchat. She might have said Instagram. Osbrook was talking about Instagram too. Was it Osbrook? No, it was you guys. You guys were talking about Instagram too, but I'm conflating that with what happened in July 2016 with somebody creating both a Snapchat and Instagram account using the username Anthony Shots. So yeah, it is unseasonable. Well, it's seasonably gross here. I think it's 108, which is like, oh, I only got half of the watering done. I'm gonna wait till the sun's lower in the sky. But yeah, let me do this real quick. So hoping you dream to see it. Oh, wait. Sorry, I'll find it, Christine. Oh, Snapchat with Carrie. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. This weird. Abby said she was on Monkey. What? Really? How are there so many of these apps? That's weird, man. Why are there so many of these apps? Okay. Well, so anyway, so I guess two different programs were used to extract data, or it's to analyze data from the 2024 physical extraction. And I guess Bunner was still doing that. I think he was the guy in 2024 too. The physical extraction, it should be the most complete, not a logical extraction. It sucks everything off the phone. And in the upload section of the report, the last uploads were some Snapchat pictures in July of 2016. That's it. Nothing later. Wow. So, and in the Bunner 2017 logical extraction in the tower, there's a section that has information about what towers it's connected to. I think there are 22 entries and every single one's been deleted. Interesting, right? Oh, damn, that's nice. Which Tyler kid? Just email you, find it interesting from case. Oh, thank you, New Day. Let me see. Oh, wow. Burkana, yeah. Whoa. That's interesting. That reminds me of my rune presentation. It's another rabbit hole I don't need to go down right now. Yeah, sorry guys. Let me go back. Thank you though. Um, yeah, thank you. I noticed the only time punctuation was used when they asked if Abby could see the night too. Ha! Another thing that bothers me, All Eyes has pics that Michael Osbrook shared on Case by Case as being received on Snapchat that day, but it wasn't from that day. I think I know the ones you're talking about too, Christina, because I think that was a time I called out Case by Case and Shaboogies for sharing leaked discovery or the assumption of leaked discovery. So yeah. Didn't cousin Unc everyone also get put in prison in July? A lot of people did Sunflower in July 2016. I think so. Or maybe that's about the time that Derek got out of serving jail time. I can't remember now, but so all of this is scary to me because this is saying that if we're taking him literally at his word, right? And by the way, this presentation is not about trying to prove Michael Osbrook wrong or like determine if anything is right and wrong. This is about asking questions about what it is that we know about the digital forensics. So to Jen Liley, adopted her son. I believe it. Yeah. Oh yeah, Nancy Drew. I think CPS has I don't want to go into it right now, but so the last uploads were some Snapchat pictures in July of 2016. And I'm wondering if that's uploads of anything. Like, if he's saying like the only uploads on that phone when they looked at it, it sucks everything off the phone. So he's saying that the last uploads were some Snapchat pictures in July of 2016. So there were no other uploads from anything else, you know? That's interesting, right? And that it would be Snapchat. Because if we're literally taking him at his word, so do. And in the Bunner 2020, 2017, so he's saying 2017, the logical extraction, which is the less thorough extraction, which again, I don't know why they decided to do that. Maybe because they wanted to, wait and have somebody else do it. I don't know. But Bunner did a 2017 logical extraction, a less thorough extraction. And he's saying that in the tower. So I guess what he's saying is that from this 2017 logical extraction, there's a section that has information about what towers it's connected to. And I think this, of course, is going back to, like, why would towers be connected to uploads? I don't think that's the case. I think he's probably talking about phone stuff. So there are 22 entries, and every single one's been deleted. The towers it's connected to from the 2017 logical extraction. So is he saying that there are 22 like incoming, outgoing phone entries from this 2017 logical extraction concerning the cell towers that they were connected to, and all 22 of them have been deleted? Is that what he's saying? See, this is why I wanted to talk with Michael Osbrook. Um, yeah. So the other thing that's weird about the phone data is that at least, let's say, at least in one of the reports, maybe not all. Let me do this. The other thing that's weird about the phone data is at least in one of the reports, maybe not in all, but in one of the reports, there is data usage for, get a load of this, every day except the 13th. Hi, Lita. Hi. Yeah, that's pretty weird. No data usage on the 13th. And he's saying at least in one of the reports. And I'm guessing what he means by reports is the different software that was used, right? So, let's just for shits and giggles say that there's what Celebrite and Knowledge Seer, the two that I know of. Let's say I think he said there were four different software programs or four different reports for the 2017 logical extraction. And he's saying that one out of those four reports has, shows data usage except every day except on the 13th. That's crazy. So for whatever reason, one of those programs did not find any data usage for the 13th. Now, maybe that's an anomaly. Maybe something was happening actively to the phone while those reports are being, analyzed and made. I don't know. I hope this is kind of followable. But again, this was a great catch from It's a New Day and the Unified Demand. Please go and subscribe if you aren't already. I'll link this in here. Paste. Hi, Harden. Defense needs to ask the right questions next time. I agree. I definitely agree with that. So, yeah, I think that was going to be, it was easier to go and read it from the thing. So now I actually wanted to go into what I talked with ChatGPT about, I gave it all of the screenshots of what we just went over in the transcript that New Day managed to save. Thank God. I was like, this is what Osbrook says on the Delphi After Dark YouTube channel about a week ago. Maybe it was 2 weeks ago now. I don't know. So, and what ChatGPT says is, it's like, I think this is a pretty revealing transcript, but it's important to separate what Osbrook is claiming, what it would mean if true, and what it does not prove. So a few things that jump out. He's saying that the 2017 logical extraction is the most reliable source, according to the transcript. He says the only truly reliable data on the phone is the original Bunner logical extraction done on the 15th. Is that the 15th of February? I don't know. Red herring distractions for sure. Yeah. So, and then, and his reasoning appears to be the phone was later connected to networks and the internet, which I understand. Like, if you wanted to sync the phone so that you were able to get some information from apps that needed to like fully like either upload or download or like sync, like connect so that you could see that information. I kind of understand that. But I also understand his concern here, because if the phone was later connected to the networks or internet, there leaves room for alteration, manipulation, any form of change to possibly occur. And data could have synced to the device after the murders. And for some reason, this iPad extraction is really important. He says, without the iPad extraction, he can't distinguish native device content from synced content. Now, maybe that's because, he's a habeas attorney. Maybe a, digital forensics expert would be able to look at it and be able to distinguish the native device content from the synced content. I don't know. So this is a provenance argument. Provenance basically just means going back to the source, right? We need the most original, the most complete, intact, unaltered version extraction of the data coming off that phone as possible. So he's saying what Osbrook is saying based on just this little bit of the transcript that we have, since we can't ask him ourselves. He says, I trust the extraction closest in time to seizure more than later interpretations. And this is interesting because if you think about it, a logical extraction is less thorough than a physical extraction. The logical extraction is basically, the way it was described to me would be like, say you need to go in and kind of like search through a room. Maybe let's say it's Libby's bedroom. The logical extraction would be basically like going in, looking around, and being like, okay, there's a bed. The bed is made. There's dressers. There's this. There's that. It's going to tell you kind of like just the basics of like what's in this room and maybe the state of the room, right? But it's not going to go as far as, say, a physical extraction, which would be more like you're going to go into that room and you're going to go over everything with a fine-tooth comb. You're going to go through the dresser drawers. You're going to try to make an inventory to later see if anything's missing. You're going to go through the closet. You're going to go through every little box of keepsakes and whatnot. You're even going to look at the stuff on the wall. And, well, I guess you could do that in the logical extraction too, but it's going to be far more detailed than a logical extraction would be, is the way that I understand it. Now, somebody can totally correct me because this is what I've managed to glean in like a couple weeks of trying to understand this stuff. So I totally understand if this is like completely off base. Yes. So, and again, like, this is me putting words in Osbrook's mouth. I don't know if he says that if he truly trusts this extraction closest to the time of seizure more than later interpretations. That's what I have to guess at, right? Because I'm not able to actually ask him myself. But there was another thing that he says in this transcript where he actually does find the bridge photo issue a bigger deal than many people realize. He says, the picture of the 207 Abby on the bridge photo was not in Libby's Snapchat. Then it's not on her phone. So ChatGPT is saying I would be very careful here because transcripts can butcher wording, and that's fair. But if he's accurately describing the extraction reports, he's saying the famous Abby 207 photo is not appearing where he expects it to appear in the Snapchat data. And he views that as an anomaly requiring explanation. And yeah, that's what Unified Demand has been saying. That's what I Have Apophis has been saying. That's what I've been saying now. That's what Low Light Recovery has been saying, Amy G too, because she supplied the information. So, a lot of people have now been saying there's a real problem with this photo, right? And it does require an explanation. So then ChatGPT's like, notice what he does not say. He does not say the photo is fake. He does not say someone else created it. He does not say Libby didn't take it. He says it's an anomaly, and that's a very different statement. So, and if we're looking at this like a forensic analyst would, true, fair, right? So But then ChatGPT says this is what you've been talking about regarding proof of life. This is where your point becomes interesting. So if somebody cannot establish where the photo originated, which application created it, whether it was native or synced, who possessed the device when it was created, then the photograph becomes weaker as a proof of life artifact. It's not necessarily worthless, just weaker, because proof of life requires confidence that the image is authentic, the timestamp is authentic, the source is authentic, and the image was actually created when claimed. So those are all separate questions, right? Forgive me, Osbrook seems to want very much beat up. I mean, theorize on bogus information like the prosecution timeline and the videos. I really think we need to go back to what we know as fact. And we know very little as fact, Critter. That's very that's very pertinent now, you know? And oh, hey artist. Hey guys. Hi. Hey owl. Hi. Say it louder, New Day. Where's the New Day? How can Osbrook know these things and still not question last proof of life? It's a good question. And I understand because he is a lawyer and he is trying to understand this from a digital forensics point of view, that he is going to be very particular with his language. I get that. I will give him that. But as New Day and artist and a lot of people, Christina, like a lot of people have pointed out, you take that with a bunch of inconsistencies and discrepancies and problems and anomalies with the timeline, with the data, with the movements, with contradictory statements, with eyewitness testimony that's changing considerably. Like, you take all of these things into consideration and you start to see a bigger picture, right? And admittedly, like, you know, people like New Day and artists have been looking at this much longer than even Osbrook, much longer than myself. I have Apophis, same deal. You know, like a lot of people here have actually looked at this data far longer than, you know, like me, Osbrook, a lot of other people. So, you know, I'm going to give them, you know, more leeway too, because they've also been able to be witness in the ecosystem to how people move as well, right? And like I think Christina was saying up here, honestly, the text and usage don't look or sound like a 13, 14-year-old girl. It sounds like someone younger and more immature sending, and all, to be honest. Well, right. There's a ton of stuff that doesn't quite line up with the way that people operate, right? There's always a baseline that you have to go off of. And now that's not science, right? We're looking at actually this is going to be the closest that we're going to get to actual science on this case, in my opinion, right? Because what we can't find is going to be evident of something in of itself. The way most evidence works, what you don't find is also evidence of something, right? But this is just going to be a little bit more of a defined line in the sand. It's going to be a little bit more tangible and concrete, in my opinion, than would otherwise be with, like, you know, well, definitely than like eyewitness testimony. But you guys know what I'm trying to say, right? And Amy G is amazing. Yeah, I love her. Yeah, I'd love Amy G brought into. I would too, definitely. Yeah. The science is, Old Mort says, the science is in the crime scene. We are never going to see that. I believe that too. I don't know how meticulously done the the actual, you know, what do you call those? You know, the postmortem reports are. Like, I don't know how accurate those are either, right? And that, like, that's also something that I don't want to have to go into. Like, I didn't want to have to go into this stuff because it is kind of confusing. But I definitely don't want to go into that. But that would be good science too. Oldmore is right. Yeah. The science would be, a lot of it would be at the crime scene too. That's gone. I understand that. Um, yeah. So anyway, just to get through this, you know, the empty bridge photo, the 205 empty bridge photo, Osberg says, you know, that he finds that suspect too, but he's not saying it's fake. He's saying there's anomalies. It's important to say that there are anomalies because anomalies can mean it could be an extraction issue, it could be a sync issue, it could be a reporting issue, it could be software interpretation issue, it could be missing database records or corruption or user activity, but it doesn't automatically mean fabrication. Fair, right? But that's why, as we get further into this, like, that's why the authenticity of looking at something like the BG video and going through like the camera fingerprint and all of that is going to be very important too, because it's actually going to show us if things were able to be manipulated. If any forensics was completed on the Snapchat account itself, probably not. That's a great question, Matt. Wonder if any, put that up there. Yeah, that's a great question. Because where were we? We're here. Okay. Okay, so ChatGPT says his distinction between phone data and reports may be the most important part, because he says it's not the data. He says these reports come from software that reads the raw data, right? And that's the crucial forensic distinction, because it's the interpretation of the software looking at the data. Now, maybe that was because they didn't have somebody to come in, and I don't even know if this is how it works. But the way that I'm imagining it is that somebody comes in, let's say they didn't have a program, a software program to plug in and to look at the raw data, and they needed a human to come in and go through it line by line and like look at everything and understand it. They didn't do that, right? And even then, like, humans can differ too, right? But so there is a distinction between phone data and reports. So raw data is the actual contents extracted from the phone, what a, say, forensic expert could come in and look at, you know. But then the report is the thing that's being made by a program like Celebrate, like Axiom or Oxygen or Knowledge C, etc. And those reports are interpreting the data and presenting it. Hence why you see later on that there is, you know, that there's the data usage shows up every day on the, except for the 13th, on one of those reports, right? Because one of those reports maybe just failed to grab it, or, you know, maybe botched it. I don't know. So, and then Christina's saying, none of us probably right on theory. Seeking defects paints a better pic. Chapters of the actual crime like a chain reaction. Yeah, that's a good point, Carla. I like this. They allegedly got Snapchat warrants back, but I haven't seen the warrant returns filed with the courts, but it's possible that they don't have all the filings public, which is an issue for me. That's an excellent point. So two forensic tools, two different software programs can produce different reports from the same raw extraction. Hence why we see the, you know, the, what was it, data usage missing from the 13th on one of those reports. which is why examiners often want the original extraction image, hash values. Again, not sure what those are. The raw databases, I'm not sure if that means like the app or program, raw files, not just PDFs. So this is something you've been hammering on for weeks. But the 2024 physical extraction comments, we'll do this. So far, we have so few facts. That's true. Hi, American Night Mom. Hi. That is very true. We have so few facts. That's very true. Very true. So the physical extraction comments, then he says it's a physical extraction, so it should be the most complete. And that's, like I said, like instead of just like opening up the door to Libby's room and looking around and being like, okay, so she's got a bed and a dresser and a closet and a TV stand and some stuff on the wall, and her bed is made with like a purple comforter or whatever. Like you can get some of that stuff, but the physical extraction is going to be like going into Libby's room and literally like every piece by piece by piece looking through everything, right? So, and ChatGPT agrees, like, it's generally true that the physical extraction will be the most complete, but the physical extraction will provide more information than a logical extraction, but completeness and reliability are not identical, because think of it like the 2024 physical extraction is 7 years after the logical extraction, right? 7 years later. So a 2024 physical extraction could be more complete, while the 2017 logical extraction could be closer to the time to the event. And those are different strengths. And the part that really caught ChatGPT's eye was this: there is data usage every day except the 13th. And tower entries, every single one's been deleted. Those are extraordinary claims. And if true, they would absolutely require explanation. But I would want to see the extraction itself, I would want to see both of them, but I really hope they did a physical extraction in 2017. I don't know what the point of not doing a physical extraction in 2017 is. Why would you not do that? Especially if you have the FBI. Like, please, God, let there be a physical extraction of the 2017 phone. And then, so ChatGPT is like, I'd want to see the extraction itself, probably all of the extractions, the actual report pages done by the software programs, the expert testimony, and database records before drawing conclusions. Because sometimes things that sound shocking are artifacts of database retention, parser limitations. Again, I don't know what that is. Reporting software, deleted logs, and carrier record mismatches. And ChatGPT says, what I think is most significant, the thing that stands out isn't that Osbrook is claiming the photos are fake. He's not. What he's actually saying is, I see multiple anomalies in the phone evidence that I cannot currently explain. And that's a much narrower statement. And interestingly, it aligns more with your recent focus on authentication versus provenance. What he's describing is not this proves fabrication, but what he's describing is there are enough unresolved anomalies that I am not comfortable treating all of these artifacts as straightforward. And if that's a fair reading of what he said, then your question becomes, can something serve as definitive proof of life if its provenance and authenticity haven't been fully established? That's a legitimate forensic question, regardless of what answer someone ultimately reaches, which is what New Day was just asking in chat. Can something serve as definitive proof of life if its provenance and authenticity haven't been fully established? I don't know. I don't think so. With my limited facts, I don't think so. So, hi Monday. Oh, yay. It's good to see you. So then I was like, okay, well, if those anomalies cannot be adequately explained to demonstrate that the girls were alive during the time the photos are time stamped for, I believe on the merits of, like truth, evidence, reality, cut and dry explanation, like binary, like yes or no, right? Then I don't think it's adequate to prove that the girls were alive. And this is what ChatGPT does, because ChatGPT is going to be very a stickler for language too. And it's saying from a strict evidentiary standpoint, I think what you're saying is largely correct, but I'd phrase it carefully. There are two different propositions. So the first proposition is the girls were alive at 2:07 p.m. And then the second is this photo proves the girls were alive at 2:07 p.m. And they're not the same claim. And, to my brain, I'm like, all right, walk me through this. Yeah. Oh my God. Got rid of her phone on the 13th. What about Kelsey saying she got rid of her phone on the 13th prior to going to the police station? Okay, so even if the girls were in fact alive at 2:07 p.m., our particular photograph only serves as proof of that if you can establish that the image is authentic, the image was created when claimed it was created, the timestamp is reliable, the source of the image is known, the image has not been altered, and the image is tied to the device and the user as claimed. Scary, right? Because that's all stuff that has not been proven. So let me make sure this thing didn't turn itself back on. All right. So if significant anomalies remain unresolved in those areas, then the photo becomes weaker as evidence for Proposition B, which was the second proposition. This photo proves the girls were alive at 2:07 p.m. And then what ChatGPT says, where I would be cautious, is saying, therefore, the girls were not alive. That's not what we're saying. Not necessarily. I mean, I've said in the past, like, oh, it's faked. It could be faked. It's this and that. All right, let me be more specific. We're not saying that the girls were not alive, but we are asking, how do we know what they were at this moment? It's almost like a mental exercise of Schrodinger's girls, like what is the actual truth, right? So we don't know. They could either be alive or not, right? That's what this is getting at. So anomalies alone don't establish that, but what they establish is the evidence being offered may not adequately demonstrate that they were alive at that specific time, which I think is the most accurate version of what many of us have been trying to say. The evidence being offered, the evidence with anomalies being offered, may not adequately demonstrate that they were alive at this specific time. That's a different conclusion. So think about a courtroom example. Suppose a surveillance camera claims to show someone entering a building at 3 p.m. Then we discover the clock on the camera might be wrong. The original recording is missing. Only copied versions exist. Chain of custody is incomplete. That doesn't prove the person wasn't there. It means the video may not be sufficient proof that they were there at 3 p.m. And that's the distinction. And frankly, this is where your focus on authentication before interpretation comes in. A lot of people will jump immediately to, what does the data mean, before first asking, how do we know the data is authentic? Or how do we know this artifact originated where we think it did? So if Osbrook is accurately describing unresolved anomalies involving the 207 Abbey photograph, the 205 empty bridge photograph, Snapchat records, call records, tower records, synchronization issues, and the differences between extractions, then those are exactly the kinds of issues a forensic examiner would want resolved before relying on those artifacts as definitive proof of life evidence, right? And he's saying that all of these things are an issue, right? He's describing unresolved anomalies involving the 207 and 205 photographs, the Snapchat records, the call records, the tower records, synchronization issues that they could have, after the 15th, opened it up to the internet and synced the phone with the apps, right? And then differences between extractions, because there's 6 different reports. If there's either two to the logical extraction in 2017 and 4 to the physical extraction in 2024, so there's six different reports, and differences between those reports of the extractions. So those are exactly the kind of issues, would want resolved. So in other words, the burden isn't on someone questioning the evidence to prove the girls were dead at the time. That's not what we're trying to prove. The burden is on the evidence itself to reliably demonstrate the claim being made about it. If it cannot do that, then the most conservative conclusion is not the girls were dead. It's the evidence has not yet adequately established that they were alive at the claimed time. That's a narrower conclusion, but it's also the one most consistent with a forensic mindset focused on what can actually be demonstrated rather than assumed. So, yeah. Oh, Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Hi, James. Yeah. Oh, we love you, Lisa. Yeah. Doug Booger. He is a moron. Who is a moron? That should have been explored way more by Brad and Andy, and they completely dropped the ball. Oh, the Queen. What? Oh, wait a second. Doug wants on. I can't post it in chat. It won't let me. So that's okay. I don't think Brad and Andy totally dropped the ball. I mean, they were in the situation. It's always easier to see things from an outside perspective. They had an entire institution coming at them. That's true. They had the full power of the state. Doug says you know who he is and he wants to chat. I can't. It won't let me post it. It says I spam if I do that. So I'll have to dick around with settings. I don't want to fucking dick around. I already figured out the static thing. Only one problem per day for this brain, right? But yeah, Doug, I don't know. I don't know who you are. And we don't talk about people poorly here. We try not to. Okay, so then why do I have such bad ADD? Okay, so let me see if I can make sense of this. This is obviously text to or speech to text. I said, well, and then my least favorite form of evidence, eyewitness testimony, really doesn't have anyone identifying the girls being there at the time either. And there were supposedly a lot of people out there that day. Like if I go back and look at Case by Case's body of work, she has a lot of different people out there. And if you go back to the original testimonies, a lot of people who claimed to be out there, they were saying that they were out there. But over the years, it's been whittled down, right? For whatever reason, it's been whittled down, the eyewitness testimonies, and no one collected There is no collection of the family's forensic movements, meaning specifically like their phones have not been properly looked at. It's CJ. Oh man. Damn it. Hi, CJ, but no, I don't need you. Hi, Duncan. Thanks, guys. Weird fucking thing, man. Dude, all right. But CJ, I think Sue has been trying to get in touch with you if you're still listening. If you can give her a call, she's been worried. And she's been wondering about Dan, if you know anything about Dan. Hi, Mother Dragons. So that would be cool if you like sorry, Mr. Book. Sorry, Mr. Booger. Yeah. Comes through a medium, a screen, or report another person, it's hard to verify and authenticate. That's very true, Old Mort. Yeah. He's disgusting. Where'd you go, Doug? He got nixed. So, go back to the original testimonies of a lot of people claimed out there. Right. So for whatever reason, we know that the eyewitness testimonies have been whittled down. No one collected like the family's forensic movements, specifically like their phones have not even been properly looked at. And we still don't even know. I think it was that Derek's phone was not collected, nor Kelsey's, neither of them. What was it? It was like, I need to find that. Yeah. Forget what it was. It was some sort of motion written by Rick Allen's defense sometime in 2024. I think in the first half of the year, where the attorneys are saying, by the way, we're still waiting on more discovery. We have not even yet received the phone data from the families, who are the people closest to the victims, obviously. And we need to see, that. Oh, yeah. And we need to see that in order to see their movements and corroborate, the timeline of events. Well, where is that? Because if you neither have that, nor all the stuff belonging to the family, and then you don't really have eyewitness testimony of the girls even being out there that day, and you are having anomalies with a lot of the phone data or this forensic digital data, then what do you really have? Because it's looking like a stronger and stronger argument to show that you don't have last proof of life, right? And especially when so much of it is dependent upon the family and their movements, and we don't have any of that other than their words, which over the years have changed. Not like, completely 180 changed, but changed enough that it has inspired, the public to make countless videos and watch countless hours of videos looking into their statements alone, right? So this is the issue. So what am I basically asking here? That I don't believe in eyewitness testimony, that there are a lot of different, eyewitnesses out there that day, and that the family has not been thoroughly investigated regarding their movements, right? Doug was being yeah. Hi, Digital. Yeah. Doug was look. New Day puts her boot down. Doug wasn't nice and had to go. Yeah. Tornado watch. Oh man, dude. Yeah, let's check on that real quick. Is this not live? Oh. Okay, well, if you're going to take forever, never mind. Yeah, so there's not a lot of stuff. We haven't looked into the family properly. They have not been properly vetted, in my opinion. So thank God ChatGPT can kind of understand my brain, because it was like, I think you've identified what is at minimum a legitimate evidentiary question. What independent evidence establishes the girls' movement and status on February 13th, 2017, which is a different question from what evidence has traditionally been assumed to establish their movements and status. And again, this is because we've been, in my opinion, and I know people are going to be like, that's why you're crazy and stupid, but it's been a giant psyop. It's been a giant illusion, a sleight of hand, smoke and mirrors, whatever you want to call it. That's what it's been. Because, yeah, we've only assumed that we've had, evidence that establishes the movement and status of the girls. Sistina. Josh Solers dating him. Huh. Josh Solers. That's crazy. Okay. Hopefully, New Day and artists see that. Let me hide my friend. Relationship with Abby. Okay. Sistina. I love Sistina. Not necessarily the same thing. Okay. So, and then looking at it analytically, there's several categories of evidence that could potentially establish a timeline, like eyewitness testimony, family statements, phone device evidence, carrier records, social media records, surveillance footage, vehicle sightings, location data, physical evidence, like all of that shit, right? But again, I don't like eyewitness testimony. I don't like the family statements. There is no phone or device evidence, very little of it. Carrier records, that would be interesting. What do we know about the carrier records? Social media records, could those be hidden? Surveillance footage, if they're not even there around that time, does it really matter? If we didn't get surveillance footage for like maybe the whole flipping weekend, right? Vehicle sightings, same deal. Location data, that would be important. And of course, physical evidence. But the stronger a timeline is, the more those categories independently converge on the same conclusion. The weaker a timeline is, the more categories depend on one another. And that is what I'm wrestling with. So if eyewitness testimony is inconsistent or has evolved over time, which we've definitely seen with like Sarah Carbaugh and, other people not even being allowed to truly say what it is that they saw when they're, getting, what do you go like cross-examined or whatever during trial. So yeah, if the eyewitness testimony is inconsistent, if family recollections have changed in certain details, because like what, they couldn't remember what they were wearing. Nobody could remember what they were wearing. Key family device data is unavailable, incomplete, or was never collected. Like I believe artists when she's like, yeah, I don't think they even collected some of it. It's like, phone evidence contains unresolved anomalies. Digital provenance questions remain unanswered. Yeah. So several pillars that would normally corroborate one another become less independent, right? All of these things are now weaker. So it doesn't automatically mean the timeline is wrong. In my opinion, I think the timeline is wrong, but it does mean the timeline may be resting on fewer truly independent foundations than people assume, right? Truly independent foundations based on facts, right? The timeline may be resting on fewer truly factual independent foundations than people assume. For example, imagine a hypothetical timeline where the family says the girls were dropped off, witness says she saw girls, photo says girls were there. At first glance, that's 3 pieces of evidence. But if it later turns out that the witness identification is uncertain, because did Betsy Blair say for certain that the 2 girls that she saw were Abby and Libby? That phone evidence is disputed, which is what we're doing right now, and that the family account is the only source remaining. Well, that may be the case. The only source remaining on the last movements and whereabouts of the girls, it really does come down to, I mean, Kelsey's putting herself in the position of being the last proof of life, the last person to see them alive. Then what originally looked like 3 pillars may effectively become 1. And that's the kind of evidentiary compression you're describing. And then it's like where I would be careful is distinguishing between the evidence does not adequately prove X and therefore X did not happen. That's not what we're saying. Those are different conclusions. The defense attorney only needs, the evidence does not adequately prove X. But a historian or investigator, which is what I believe all of you guys are, looking for the truth, wants to know whether the second can actually be established, right? Like, we want to know if it could have happened the way that it is set up to be, and truthfully and factually, like what actually happened. And the family phone issue you raised is interesting because generally speaking, phones can sometimes provide objective anchors like call logs, text, GPS, cell records, Wi-Fi associations, app activity, photos, cloud synchronization. And if those records exist and are available, they can either support or contradict recollections. If they don't exist, weren't collected, or aren't available, then investigators are more dependent on human memory. And human memory is the weakest form of evidence, in my opinion, especially years later, right? And look at how Sarah Carbaugh got from muddy to bloody, and then muddy and bloody. Imperative for Peggy to tell us Libby's phone was glitching and had to be reset. See, that's another thing, Nancy. That's another thing that's very important. All of that stuff is very important. Yeah. Why was it imperative for Becky to tell us that Libby's phone was glitching and it had to be reset? Did we need to know that? Was she trying to establish something? I think a lot of this stuff has been trying to establish something. The whole like thing about the jackets and did anyone ever pull surveillance footage from Caterpillar? I'm thinking no. Unified Command did nothing to properly establish proof of life or alibis. I think that's really, really important. Looked into her, not that she was involved, but her instability. She rotated boyfriends and jobs constantly. So, and yeah, I agree with that. Human memory is often the weakest form of evidence. So chat says, what I think is driving your concern is that many people discuss the Delphi timeline as though it is a settled, fully corroborated chain of events. Well, no, thank God for, Iva Apophis, Unified Demand, other people on the case, because I don't think I think a lot of people now are questioning it. Honestly, like, it's not settled. It's far from settled. It's fabricated. It's a fabrication. And ChatGPT says your position seems to be show me the independent evidence supporting each link in the chain. That's fair. Yeah. That's actually a forensic way of thinking. The question isn't whether a witness seems sincere. The question isn't whether a family member seems believable. The question is what evidence independently corroborates the claim. Yeah. So if that corroboration is missing, incomplete, or disputed, then confidence in that particular piece of the timeline should be lower than if multiple independent sources all point to the same conclusion. That's why provenance has become such a central issue in your recent research. Before asking what a piece of evidence means, you're asking whether it can reliably support the claim being made about it. That's a reasonable question to ask of any investigation, regardless of where the answer ultimately leads. It should have been the question that we were all allowed to ask from the beginning. So I love how it doesn't translate perfectly from speech to text. So now with Osbrook, it seems he's saying that Bunner extracted the phone data on the 15th. I'm guessing the 15th of February, a day after they're found deceased, day and a half, 2 days after they're purportedly go missing. What stands out to you, and what questions would you have for Osbrook? Why are you calling him Osbrook? Osbrook, based on his statements made in Delphi After Dark, in the Delphi After Dark live stream. What questions do you have for him? So this is what I put to ChatGPT. Of nothing about anything, like corroboration of nothing about anything. It's wild. Exactly, American Night Mom. Oh, wow. And then it says the phone data doesn't make any sense. Anna said they all played softball together for the first time ever on Saturday, but 3 to 4 pages were redacted before that. Do we have more info on Anna on Friday and Saturday? That's a great question, Christina. And then the Patties could have pulled up the call logs from the 13th by logging on to AT&T website. You can see activity on any line connected to your account. And do they have anywhere that they offered to do that? Like, did they go to the police and say that they offered to do that? Hi, Rock Crusher. Osborne. I love you all more. I love you. I love you. You're awesome. So, yeah. So this is what ChatGPT would ask Osbrook, right? Just based on the transcript that we have that's from the SNE live, the Delphi After Dark live, that New Day and artists managed to save in their video. That here, check it out if you haven't already. So ChatGPT says, if I were interviewing Osbrook based solely on the state, see, it knows that it's Osbrook. Why did you say, okay, if I were interviewing Osbrook based solely on the statements in those screenshots, I'd be less interested in his conclusions and more interested in forcing the underlying facts into the open, right? That's why I was like, we want to know what you know, dude. Please and thank you. Because right now he's making several potentially significant claims, but we need to know exactly what data he's looking at and what he means. And my first question would be, what exactly is the Bunner logical extraction done on the 15th? When he says the original Bunner logical extraction done on the 15th, I want to know the 15th of February, 2017. What software was used? Was it Celebrite? Was it a full file system extraction? Was it truly only a logical extraction? Was there also a physical extraction in 2017? That's what I'm praying to God there is, and that the FBI did it. Right? And then what was the chain of custody from recovery to extraction? Because frankly, if the FBI had access to an iPhone 6S in February 2017, one of the first questions that comes to mind is, were additional extractions performed that are not being discussed here? Yeah, I mean, that's interesting. Were additional extractions performed that are not being discussed here? It sounded like he said 2 or 4. I can't remember, but and then, second question, why does Osbrook consider the 2017 extraction more reliable than the 2024 physical extraction? This is probably my biggest question. He says the only truly reliable data, and that's a strong statement. And I'd ask, reliable for what? Concerning the 2017 extraction. Reliable for what? Reliable because it was closest in time? Reliable because later syncing occurred, like off the internet after it? Reliable because the 2024 extraction shows anomalies? Reliable because the raw image from 2017 still exists? And importantly, are the anomalies visible in the raw data or only in later generated reports? Because those are very different problems. And then ChatGPT says, It asks, what specifically makes him believe the Abby 207 photo was not in Libby's Snapchat? And this is the question I'd probably spend the most time on. When he says that picture of Abby was not in Libby's Snapchat, I immediately want to know which extraction shows this, which database, which Snapchat artifacts. Is the photo absent entirely? Is it present but lacks Snapchat metadata? Is it stored outside the expected Snapchat location? Is it present in the camera roll but not Snapchat? Is it present in cloud records? Because each of those possibilities means something very different, right? Yeah. All of these things. Another question for Osbrook. Why does he consider the empty bridge photo suspect? Again, what anomaly, what metadata, what file path, what upload records, what database inconsistency or timestamp issue? I'd want him to identify the exact artifact causing concern. And then what does Osbrook mean when he says the phone was exposed to the internet? This phrase caught my attention. I'd ask, was the phone powered on after recovery? Did it reconnect to cellular? Did it reconnect to Wi-Fi? Did it receive cloud syncs? Did investigators intentionally allow syncing? What records show this? Because exposed to the internet can mean a lot of different things, right? What is the missing iPad data supposed to explain? That was very interesting to me. So Osbrook says it's very hard to tell what the phone data means without the iPad dump. That's a fascinating statement. My immediate question would be why? Specifically, was Libby's Snapchat synced to an iPad? Were photos shared across devices? Were iCloud services enabled? What evidence suggests the iPad could resolve the anomalies? Because that's not an obvious statement unless he has a reason, right? What call records exist in carrier records but not on the phone? This is potentially significant. This was something Christina was talking about on the latest Unified Demand live. Please subscribe to them too, guys, if you haven't. It's an excellent discussion with Christina. Definitely worth checking out. Neither child the reason FBI. It's because he was at the place Anna was working. Oh, wow. Okay. Why the GPS data is missing. Yeah, just crazy, guys. Yeah, so this is what Christina was talking about in the latest Unified Demand Live or last Saturday. What call records exist in the carrier records but not on the phone? And this is potentially significant because Osbrook says phone calls that show up on the call detail records that don't show up in the phone. Questions. Are those phone calls incoming or outgoing? Were they before February 13th, on February 13th? Were they deleted? Was it an iPhone artifact issue? Or was it an extraction limitation? Because that could have completely mundane explanations or very important ones. And, you know, again, I wouldn't expect Osbrook to know all of this because he's not a forensic expert, right? Digital forensic expert. We would need somebody that does this shit for a living, in my opinion. So, also, what does Osbrook mean by all tower entries being deleted? This may be the most dramatic claim in the transcript. He says 22 entries and every single one's been deleted. My immediate questions: deleted by whom? Deleted when? Deleted according to what artifact? User deletion? Database cleanup? Parser interpretation? I'm not sure what parser interpretation is. iOS operating system behavior? That's the sort of claim that needs precise technical support. And again, like Osbrook probably needs access to a digital forensics expert in order to look at a lot of this stuff, right? And then what is the significance of no data usage on the 13th? And I think this is because it shows up on the report, and I want to know which report. But it says, Osberg says, there is data usage every day except the 13th. And ChatGPT would want the actual report page, the date range examined, carrier records, whether cellular and Wi-Fi are separated, or whether this reflects usage logs or billing records, because that statement could be extremely important or completely misleading depending on what metric is being discussed. Now, again, like I don't think Osberg's being nefarious or deceptive in any way. I just think like these are all things that could be legitimately looked into for that, to see what happened with that data usage on the every day except the 13th, right? And then the question that chat would ask above all others, if I only got one question, it would be, which anomalies can be independently verified from the raw extraction data itself, as opposed to being artifacts generated by forensic software reports, right? So which anomalies can be independently verified by like somebody, like a human going through it manually? Would they be able to identify it independently from the raw extraction data itself? Because there is an issue that the forensic software, when it is pulling stuff out, can accidentally leave behind like their own fingerprints, their own residue, their own artifacts that accidentally get generated when they do that sometimes, right? I don't know how that works. I don't know why it works that way. Or hi, Deb. Hi, guys. Hi, other people I didn't see coming in if you're here. But all of those are really important questions because, if let's say that these software programs that are meant to extract the data are accidentally leaving some artifacts behind, it would be good to know what kind of artifacts they're leaving behind, right? So because Osberg himself does make the distinction, it's not the data, it's what's generated by the programs, right? It would be like, let me try to think of something like, let's say like I get done drawing a picture, but it's like graphite, right? And the picture is of a dog, and I, in the process of like trying to get it into the picture frame, I leave a bunch of my dirty fingerprints all over the picture. That's like the artifact, and now it's just it's a picture of a dog with a bunch of dirty fingerprints on it, right? Like that's the most rudimentary that's the most rudimentary example I have for you guys. Like I'm trying to think if there's like a better example, but it's like yeah, that's all I got. That's all my brain has right now. But the programs themselves can accidentally be leaving stuff behind is the issue, right? So, and that's probably why you run different reports too, especially if the different software programs are going to give you different information. But so if an anomaly exists only in a Celebrate report, that's one thing. But if it exists in the raw SQLite databases, I don't know what that is, the raw files, the raw metadata, hashes, and extracted artifacts, that's much stronger. So if you're seeing the same anomaly show up consistently in all the other ways that you can go and find and look at this stuff, then it might be an artifact that's not coming from a program as much as it's coming from there's something wrong with this information. So what's interesting is that none of my first questions would be, does this prove fabrication? I wouldn't start there. I'd start with, show me the artifact, show me the extraction, show me the database, show me the metadata. Because before you can determine whether something is authentic, inauthentic, innocent, suspicious, manipulated, or misunderstood, you have to first know exactly what the underlying evidence says. And based on the screenshots, Osberg seems to be pointing to several specific anomalies. But the transcript doesn't yet tell us whether those anomalies are in the raw evidence itself or in later interpretations of that evidence. And that's the distinction I want him to nail down, if that makes sense to people, hopefully, right? Oh, shit. Okay. Stay safe, guys. All right. Be safe, guys. Phone calls are showing up on the phone line records, but not on the phone itself. Tells me something else was manipulating the phone number. And that's the excellent work that I think artists and New Day have looked into about the dual SIM ribbon adapter, right? Because it's basically, I don't know if I have that. Well, I can come back to that. I don't want to exit out of it. Well, let me see. It might be in that one. I'd have to go back and look because, yeah, artists in New Day have brought up an excellent point about that because that is very important to consider for sure. Didn't hear more from Tara. She's the one who called Libby's phone over and over. I always pay attention to who, what we don't hear about. That's a good point. Snipping on the clouds. Okay, everybody stay safe, guys, please. All right. Ugh. I don't know why I can't just ask questions. But it was like, well, I made a community post. Hold on, let me do this. Yeah. Anna Ray Hamish. Okay, yeah. I made a community post. I think it was this past Sunday or Monday, so either the 14th or 15th of June. It's basically asking Osbrook, why does it like it knows his name. It like whatever. I was basically asking Osbrook politely to come on and see if he wanted to discuss what he talked about on Delphi After Dark, and it is now Wednesday the 17th. I know he sees everything that I do and probably watches everything that I do or watches clips of stuff that I do because he knew that I said that he had made a rookie mistake and that one was heard about it, called it out, turned it back around, saying he was somehow a rookie and didn't appreciate it. That's fine. He has not reached out, so I'm thinking of doing a live and presenting the information that I have discussed with you here, just reading it. I don't really have time to make a presentation. I think these are good questions to be asking. If he can see that this is a good faith attempt to figure out some of this stuff, then maybe he would be more amenable to talking about it, if not with myself, maybe with Unified Demand, maybe with somebody he doesn't have bad blood with. But I find this stuff very important if we really do care about a man that was railroaded, I believe, who was wrongfully convicted. We care about justice for 2 kids. Maybe it'd be worth talking with him about some of the stuff and trying to get access to the raw data that he maybe has access to. I want to know what he has. Honestly, if you do that live, I think the strongest approach is not to argue with Osbrook. Okay. There we go. What happened? How do we know what happened? Yeah. So lately the questions have started becoming, how do we know what happened? Yeah. If I were watching your live, I'd be more interested in hearing what exactly did Osbrook say? What evidence is he referring to? What would those statements mean if accurate? And what questions should be asked? Not asking for secret information. Need for someone. Yeah. So playing here sometimes miss. Well, that's true. It's ChatGPT was like, you don't actually need Osbrook to come on your channel for your questions to be valid. The questions stand on their own merits. For example, what extraction occurred on February 15th? Was there a 2017 physical extraction? What is the provenance of the Abbey photo? What explains the alleged Snapchat anomaly? What explains the alleged tower anomaly? What explains the alleged call record anomaly? What raw data supports these claims? Those are fair questions, whether he answers them or not. The other thing that stood out is that you said, I want to know what he has. That's really the heart of it, not because you're trying to catch him, but because his statements imply that he has reviewed material that most people have never seen. And whenever someone says, I see an anomaly, the next logical question is, show me the artifact. Not because you disbelieve them, because that's how evidence works. Simple idea. Arguing over conclusions. What evidence actually supports those conclusions? If an attorney with discovery access says there are unresolved anomalies in the underlying evidence, then those anomalies deserve to be clearly explained, regardless of whether they ultimately support the prosecution, the defense, or neither. That's a position that is difficult for reasonable people to object to, because it isn't asking anyone to adopt a conclusion. It's asking them to explain the evidence that led them to that conclusion, or that to one. Yeah, exactly. So I'm putting it out there. These are the questions. And then I was like, maybe the community will come forward with some questions. I have spent a couple weeks digging into this kind of stuff, so maybe some new things are just known to me that I will maybe need to explain further. Use this thread to do that. Yeah, so if anybody has any questions, let me know. I'll use this thread to do it. But I want to look at the data, the BG phone, or the BG video came from the phone. Yeah. Because anymore, the whole phone. Yeah, it's the whole phone is something is worth really examining down to every detail before we can even look at the anomalies that we may or may not be seeing, in my opinion. Because I myself I have a hard time seeing things. Because even though I'm an artist and highly visual, highly imaginative, I have a hard time seeing patterns within images. And other people may be good at that stuff. So to me, the Eye of Apophis stuff, okay, while very compelling and interesting and worth looking into, is still really tricky for me to wrap my head around. Also, and so for anybody else who struggles with that same issue, I'd like to be able to show them why it's not just the stuff that we can't pick up that's important. It's the stuff that we actually have access to or could have access to, and getting to go over it. Many more questions are going to come up from being able to see raw data, because I'm sure there will still be plenty of questions like how this was acquired, when this was acquired, who acquired it, what process did they use to acquire it, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff that can come from this. And yeah, it's technical and it's kind of heavy and boring, but it may be the most useful thing to getting people to look at Delphi differently, which obviously needed to happen a long time ago. So before we argue what we see in the BG video, we need to ask whether the phone evidence itself has been properly authenticated. It's foundational. I'm asking people to follow a chain of the device. Like, we have the device, we want to see the extraction, we want to see the raw data from the extraction, we want to see the forensic reports that are created from that raw data, we want to see the interpreted artifacts, and then the courtroom claim, which I don't think there was really a good courtroom claim. Like, what did they really talk about with the BG video in the courtroom? And then why were the people that were in the courtroom so blown away by how short it was? It wasn't the 43 seconds. That BG looked like an ant, very far away. So if any link in that chain is missing, unclear, or contradicted, then the public should not be treating the final claim as settled. And I don't think a lot of us are anymore. I think we're over that, right? So, yeah, I'm not endorsing or rejecting what Osbrook claimed. I'm asking what it means. The phone provenance matters because, all of the BG video, the Abbey photo, the empty bridge photo, Snapchat activity calls, and tower artifacts are all supposedly, they come back to this device and data ecosystem. So the core question, can these artifacts prove last proof of life in their origin, extraction, timestamps, and app context if all those things are not clearly established? And I don't think so. And I think a defense attorney could make a good argument that no, right? Questions for Osbrook or anyone with discovery: which extraction, which database, which report, which raw artifact, what changed between 2017 and 2024. I would want that in meticulous detail. Like I would want that like on a spreadsheet or a timeline. Like I would want it very visually laid out, right? Yeah. I want to see the 23andMe too. That's right. That's right. And I think Unified Demand made a good point about that too. If you aren't subscribed to the Unified Demand, I recommend going and subscribing. Cody's mom is Hartman. Okay. There's a lot of Hartmans in Iron's research, you know? We can go back over that too. Okay. And so, why all of this stuff matters, right? It's not to attack families or witnesses or attorneys or creators, but because justice requires evidence that can be traced, tested, and explained. Factual evidence. Justice requires factual evidence, right? Yeah, I'm not asking people to believe me. I'm asking people to ask better questions. Yeah. Honestly, how people can't follow the visual template arguments. Some people will never be able to see what Ivapapa sees, but they can understand where did the file come from, who extracted it, when was it extracted, was the original preserved, did the report come from raw data or software interpretation? That's pretty important. That is much more accessible. You literally just say, tonight is not a polished presentation. Yeah, it's never a polished presentation, girl. So then I just asked ChatGPT, I was like, if you think of anything that I've missed here, maybe I should bring up, go ahead and let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to leave this thread open for any questions from chat if they have any. So if you guys have any questions, let me know, and then I'll definitely start asking, right? Hi, Smokey. On a logical level, Duncan. Maybe not. I don't know. I think he knows what he's talking about, but I don't appreciate let me find it. Is that this one? I don't appreciate this. Probably fuck or shoot. To the people still wasting time on proof of life. Even if you do not like the Snapchat pic of Abby Williams on the bridge, there are the Snapchat pictures of both girls in Kelsey's car on the way to the trail. The app usage, time, and GPS info line up perfectly. What more proof do you need? I mean, I don't think that was cool, dude. Like, yeah. Why? Why say that? Right? Because he's like contradicting himself in the Delphi After Dark Live. It's contrary. It's just contrary. It's contrarian, right? So when I asked ChatGPT, I was like, if you think of anything I've missed that I should bring up, let me know. Then ChatGPT was like, a few things come to mind that fit very naturally with the direction you're already taking. Distinguish authentication from provenance early. You've been talking about this a lot lately. So even if a file is authentic, do we know its provenance, right? Even if we know its provenance, do we know it's authentic? For example, provenance, where did this file come from? Who acquired it, when, and how? Authentication, is this actually what it is claimed to be? So provenance is basically like the black and white. Like, what is this? You know, this is the thing that exists. Where did it come from? When and why and how, right? Authentication is like, it's like when we're looking at the 207 Abbey photo. Is that photo what it claims to be? Is it an authentic photo in that it helps us show or demonstrate that that was, you know, one of the last known examples of proof of life for at least Abby Williams, right? Is it authentically that? So, yeah, there's a difference between provenance and authentication, right? And hopefully you guys understand that. And I'm willing to like try to explain it, but remember, Michael Osbrook said, you're untethered from reality if you believe the BG video is fake and he wants nothing to do with you. Such a bizarre thing to say from someone who admittedly doesn't understand data. Yeah. Why say that? Yeah, it did, Smokey Robin. It's in basically it's like the last uploaded anything on the phone wasn't until going back into July 2016. But yeah, that's very well said, Christina. Very well said. So, now what was that? Yeah. So, let me remove this real quick. Sorry for the back and forth, guys. Yeah. So hopefully you guys understand the difference between provenance and authentication. But ChatGPT was like, I would want to ask whether the public has ever actually seen the evidence or only descriptions of the evidence. And I think this is a great point. So many Delphi discussions are really person A describing what person B said, person C found in a report. And that's several layers removed from the underlying artifact. And you could ask, how much of what we believe about the phone comes from direct examination versus descriptions and summaries? I think it's all of it, right? What true evidence do we truly have, right? I think all of Delphi. How much of what we believe about all of Delphi comes from direct evidence versus descriptions and summaries? Like, you know, like copy and paste in whatever you want about the Delphi case. Like, how much of what we believe about, you know, the timeline of Delphi comes from direct evidence versus descriptions and summaries? Like, you know, do we have footage of cars going by on the date that pinpoint, okay, there's Daniel Pearson with Shelby Hicks, and there's, you know, Kelsey and Betsy Blair and so and so and so and like, how much of that do we actually have, right? What evidence is independent? This is probably the biggest forensic question. So for each timeline claim, is this independent evidence or does it ultimately derive from the same source? So if a timeline depends on the Abby photo, the BG video, and the Snapchat artifact, then all three ultimately derive from the same phone ecosystem. And that's not necessarily three independent confirmations, right? It's potentially one source being viewed three different ways, right? That's a big issue, right? Because we have a lot of that. We have a lot of things. Well, if this is based on this, then therefore it's all good. It's all been cleared and checked out. Well, no, it's not, because if one of those things is messed up and inaccurate, then no. You're not getting verifiable independent sources to corroborate everything independently, right? What would falsify the current understanding? And this is, a powerful question. Like, what evidence would cause us to revise our understanding of the timeline? Because if the answer is nothing, then you're not investigating anymore. You're defending a position, right? And this is what's been so frustrating about people that I really had high hopes for, too, right? What would cause us to revise our understanding of our timeline or our beliefs of the crime as it occurred? Hmm? Because if the answer is nothing, you're just defending a position. And good investigations should always have the possibility of being wrong. And I think that's like why the early Delphi community was almost just as like frustrating. Like, from what I have seen and heard, it's almost just as frustrating as now, because back then, people weren't allowed to be wrong. Like, you were supposed to just put out your idea, have it solved, and you weren't supposed to get anything wrong. Otherwise, everything was wrong. And it was like, that's not how investigation works. You're supposed to speculate. You're supposed to keep an open mind and try to put puzzle pieces in certain places and see if you can figure it out. That's how you investigate. So, um, and then the missing data question. This one jumped out at me from what you've been discussing. Sometimes people focus on what exists, but equally important is what should exist if the narrative is correct, right? So, for example, there would be expected app artifacts, expected databases, expected logs, expected cloud records, expected extractions, expected chain of custody documentation. The absence of expected artifacts can sometimes be just as important as the presence of unexpected ones, right? That's very telling too. And that's where, we've got great minds like Christina and artists and New Day and so many of you guys in chat, Oldmore, um, a lot of brilliant minds, Monday, all of you guys, like so many of you guys, digital, you guys you're like, okay, well, where is this thing though? Because shouldn't there be this thing? And it's like, yeah. Or like, why aren't we hearing more from that person? Where have they been this entire time? Yeah, where have they been? You know? So, and now ChatGPT is warning me about be careful about proof of life. I think this is where people will misunderstand you. You might clarify, I'm not claiming the girls weren't alive at 2:07. I'm asking what evidence independently demonstrates that they were. That's the more forensically accurate way to say what I've been saying. I have been lazy and been like, do we even know they were alive at 2:07 on the 13th? Because I don't know. But I mean, the better way of saying it is like, I'm asking what evidence independently demonstrates that they were alive. Right? So it's an evidentiary question, right? One question that ChatGPT would personally add, if Osbrook says the February 15th extraction is the most reliable source, then I'd ask, what exactly happened to the phone between recovery and that extraction? Not because anything nefarious happened, but because that's the beginning of provenance. So the timeline example would be the phone was recovered. Who possessed it? Where was it transported? Was it powered on? Was it isolated from networks? When was extraction performed? Who performed it and what tool was used? That's where the story actually begins. And honestly, if I were a viewer, the question I'd be left thinking about afterward would be, before I decide about what the phone data means, do I actually know where the phone data came from? Because that's such a basic question and almost nobody asks, and yet it's probably the most important one. It also neatly sidesteps all the personality conflicts, creator drama, and factional battles that tend to consume Delphi discussions. It brings everything back to the evidence itself, right? So nice. Thank you, Christina. I'm gonna do that. Where was that? Was here? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, guys, that's the. Let me do that. Where do I do the thing? That is it? Is it this one? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I mean, if you guys want me to ask too, I am willing to ask anything, or like, put anything into that thread to ask ChatGPT about too. If you have any questions, yeah. Keegan Klein search marathon gas station on his navigator. Nobody talks about that, right? And just why were they so shitty at like getting like the families movements? That doesn't make any sense to me, right? Yeah. So yeah, like I hope that was helpful, guys, because I didn't want to have to make a presentation on this. Other requests need to go to different police departments. There's the Carroll County Sheriff's Office, Delphi PD, ISP. Wasn't there a GBI? Yeah. On how to submit requests. That sucks. Show their work. Yeah. Show your work. Let's see the citations, because I think we all kind of got like pigeonholed into looking at certain things, right? How long does DNA last? It's a good question too. All of these are really good questions, guys. Like, so, and actually, let me look at this real quick, because I think I was trying to ask it about, I was trying to ask ChatGPT about the dual SIM adapter. Okay, yeah. This was confusing to me. All right, let me see. Let me. Hi, Midnight Cinderella. How well it's protected. Yeah. Yeah. That's true too. Okay, so let me do this real quick. Right, and then I do was it this one? Yeah, it was that one, and then it was I'll just do entire screen because it's easy for my brain. Okay, so I don't know what this was exactly, but I started asking about there's some alteration to detect it. Evidence is proved. Oh, no. Okay, it's not this. Okay, let me see. Maybe it's the knowledge, see, and evidence. It was really interesting. I sent it to. Okay, send it to, okay, artist and new day. Okay, here we go. And they can explain this much better than I can. Sorry, guys. I know this is probably making people dizzy. Oh, yeah, I was talking with Daisy about this too. Because I was like, you know, I'm a little grumpy. Yeah, okay. All right, gal. Just see. Right. So I was trying to determine what Daisy was saying. She's basically just saying that, like, the stuff that she is finding did show up on the knowledge C, right? It did show up in the data report. But then I was like, I want to try to explain to her what artist was saying about how there a dual SIM adapter could possibly be seen or like detected by a digital forensic analyst. I think that's what I've been asking. So it's like, can you explain what artist is saying about the knowledge C in 205 photo? Because all I can figure out is that it means that Libby could potentially not have been the person doing it, taking the 205 photo. Like, it still hasn't determined who is taking the picture, right? But what does it mean in relation to the dual SIM adapter? Because the way that I'm understanding it, if there is a dual SIM adapter being used, it could look like it's Libby's phone doing the Snapchat thingy at 205 with the empty bridge. And then, you know, literally 2 minutes later, not look like it came. The Abby photo looks like it doesn't come from Libby's phone. It doesn't show up as having Snapchat in the background. Okay. And then, yeah. So let my confusion be a lesson for all of you. Because I was like, you know, this is what ChatGPT told me. It was like, I think you're very close to what artist is saying, but there are a couple of layers getting mixed together that's separating them. What artist is saying about knowledge C, if I take a SIM card or use an adapter and put it into another phone, the activity logs, app logs, Snapchat activity, knowledge C artifacts, etc., are generated on the phone that is physically running the apps, right? So, like, yay, that's awesome. So if I have my phone here, right, and let me see if I have like a USB thing, and then I can just pretend to plug it in. I'm a visual learner, guys. Like, it's not going to make sense to me. I'm going to go back and rewatch this and be like, ah, yes. Okay. Oh, come on, lady. Okay. So we have this. Okay. So let's pretend this is a SIM card or an adapter, right? And I put it into, I have my old phone here, into another phone. Okay. And I put it into another phone. I put it into this phone. This is a SIM card that I have or an adapter, and I put it into another phone, this phone right here. And the activity logs, the app logs, Snapchat activity, knowledge C artifacts are generated on the phone that is physically running the apps, right? Okay. So the SIM card is not the phone, right? It's not the phone memory, it's SIM card, right? Knowledge C is generally tracking activity on the handset itself, right? So if phone A SIM, if this SIM is now placed into phone B, and phone B takes a Snapchat photo, phone B records the Snapchat activity and the knowledge C activity, and phone A does not magically generate those logs. But assume that there is no two devices, because what the SIM adapter is doing is making one device look like two phones. So essentially phone A and phone B are all in one phone, right? But it's having the phone B records that has the Snapchat activity and the knowledge C activity that's not allowing it to show up. It doesn't generate those logs on phone A. So let's say that like I share a phone with my brother, right? I share one device with my brother, but we have a SIM card that when plugged in makes it look like it's my phone versus his phone. So if my phone is the one that's doing the Snapchat activity, and I remove the device that makes it look like it's my phone, right? Or toggle it over to the thing that makes it look like his phone is not going to have those same Snapchat activity logs, if that makes sense. That's like the dumbest probably explanation that has ever been given, but I hope that helps. And I probably still got it wrong. But so the point artist seems to be making is that, you know, the phone A and phone B, even if they're on the same device, phone number A and or phone letter A and phone number letter A, oh dear, and then phone number letter B, they have different phone numbers, right? Like, let's say I'm phone A, so my phone number versus my brother's phone number, he's phone B, but we're using the same device, right? The stuff that I'm doing on my phone isn't going to show up on his. So, and artist is not a he, it's a she. So she's saying the existence of the knowledge C records doesn't identify the person using the device, which is basically what we've been saying about the 207 video. You're pretty much right. Right? Okay. So artist is not saying, therefore Libby did not take the photo. She's saying the existence of knowledge C records does not identify the person using the device, which is also what Daisy was saying, right? When I was talking to her about this stuff, because I was asking her how would a dual SIM adapter, you know, operate in the same manner. Well, I wasn't exactly asking her that. I was saying that I don't believe that it proves that Libby had to be taking the picture. It's just that the picture was getting taken or showing up on Libby's phone, right? Even though there was probably, like, artist is, you know, postulating there probably was a dual SIM adapter used and being toggled between to look like Libby's phone and then being the other person's phone, whoever that is. I don't know who that could be. It's such a mystery. I don't know. So, Loopy, this was going to be the most difficult thing to talk about. Could you not? Well, then do you want to come say hi and get it out of your system? It's always got to be when I'm explaining like the harder things. Oh my gosh. Well, come in here then. All right. So this is ChatGPT trying to understand what I'm not understanding. So it's like, this is where I think your brain is going. Libby's phone is phone A. Another phone is phone B. A dual SIM adapter somehow allows Libby's account or her number or her identity on that phone, because like we'll say it's one device, right? Appear to be associated with activity occurring on phone B, right? So that means that inversely, let's say there's a perpetrator that has Libby's phone, and that their phone B, they can show up. They can then become associated with activity occurring on Libby's phone, if that makes sense, right? So, and then it's like, well, which device, which phone number on the one device would generate the Knowledge C records? The device physically running the Snapchat, not the original source phone, right? But the part that's still unresolved is, even if Artist is completely right, that still doesn't tell us whether Libby's actual phone took the 205 image, another device took the 205 image, Libby took the image, or someone else took the image. Those are separate questions. Well, nobody knows that right now. Nobody knows that, right? So what you're noticing about the 205 versus 207 images, and this is not something that I'm noticing, this is something that I've garnered from artist Daisy, and I'm trying to understand it, is that the 205 image appears associated with Snapchat, and it appears supported by Knowledge C artifacts. And the 207 image, according to what you've been discussing, does not appear to show the same Snapchat indicators you'd expect, right? And it raises questions about provenance. I think that's what's happening. Admitting crap in court is not considered evidence. Okay. So why does one image seem to have a Snapchat trail while the other doesn't? And then your mind goes, could these images have originated from different devices, states, different acquisition paths, or different sources? Could there be a SIM, a dual SIM adapter, or something similar to that getting involved in this? And that's why. And that's the actual question that you're wrestling with, what other people, smarter people, are wrestling with. So, and while artist explanation does not necessarily prove a dual SIM adapter was used, but it does mean if a dual SIM adapter were being used, Knowledge C activity would generally be associated with the device physically performing the action, right? So, and that's maybe why they forgot, if the other person that was toggling onto their version of the phone did the 207 picture, that's why it doesn't look like it's showing up in Libby's Snapchat. That's basically what I believe artist is trying to explain. Had been, okay, let me put this up. So artist says, my guess is that if Kelsey's phone had actually been examined properly, you would have found those pictures on her camera roll. However, Kelsey claims she lost her phone prior to going to the police station. How convenient. And I think this is artist theory, but I think, and I mean, you know, I'm not saying like it's correct or anything. I don't know, but like, I think this is a very interesting and compelling idea that artist has theorized about, because it makes complete sense to me. It does. It really does. Like, the 205 image could have been taken by someone other than Libby. Well, both of them could have, honestly. Is logically separate from a dual SIM adapter was used, but the first is an attribution question. The second is a mechanism question. They all require evidence. And then I think what's happening, you're trying to reconcile two observations. 205 image appears to have supporting Snapchat Knowledge C activity, because they remembered that they needed to be doing that shit on Libby's version, right? But the 207, they forgot to toggle over back into Libby's phone setting, right? That's the problem. 2 minutes later, they're forgetting that they need to go back over into Libby's phone setting to make it look like it's her phone performing the function. And that's what's happening. And I think that's why Artist makes a really good point, because I think the thing that Daisy asked was saying, or Amy G, she was saying, well, there's this supporting Snapchat knowledge C activity. Okay. I believe that because it was toggled over properly on Libby's device at the time. 2 minutes later, when they're trying to do the Abby video or the Abby photo, they forget to toggle it back over to Libby's because for whatever reason, they're toggling it over to theirs. And you're asking, could a device switching mechanism explain both? That's a hypothesis. Whether it's correct is a separate question, but that's the bridge your mind is trying to build between the two photos. So that's basically kind of the resolution that ChatGPT has found between the 205 being on Knowledge C and in Libby's Snapchat versus the 207 not, right? And I think that's an excellent observation that Artist has made. So, I'm lied about that. That's interesting. Okay. And then Artist says, okay, so Artist says the other explanation why things may not be on Libby's camera roll may also be because that was never Libby's phone in the first place, and they lied about that. That's true too, right? But then they're, hi Nicole, hi. But then that's like this is I think they're very compelling. And I know that stuff can get heavy and be kind of boring to people, but I think it's very compelling because this is why some things may look anomalous and may be showing up weirdly, right? Because, we need to see all the different types of reports from the different extractions to see what's showing up where. But if it's showing up that like one is on Knowledge C and then the other's not, and they're 2 minutes apart from each other, I don't know. I think that makes a pretty compelling point. And at that point, it's like, why are there people toggling back and forth? Was Kelsey there and taking photos and trying to share one phone with Libby and Abby and was trying to access something on hers and just forgot and like gave the phone back to Libby so that Libby could take the picture of Abby and have it not be in her Snapchat with her Snapchat app running in the background, because either way, then that kind of makes Kelsey more important to the story, which is what a lot of people have been saying since the beginning. On top of everything else, all the other inconsistencies. So yeah. But I hope that helped. I know it was kind of a long one, guys. I did not want to have to make a presentation on this stuff. I'm still working my way through the Eye of Apophis stuff, but I've gotten back to going back to the timelines because I do think that would be pretty important. And I don't expect Michael Alsberg to come on and talk about it. And this is very important too. And then Artist says, sadly, a lot of this could have been determined had they confiscated all the devices and done an actual legit investigation of the digital forensic evidence. Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. So, and this is kind of the science that we're left with, guys. There's not much left. And sadly, I think we have been psyoped or distracted or what do you call that? Hypnotized or whatever for a long damn time. We're going on 9.5 years, right? 9.5 years of really looking in a completely different direction. And I think only now the real investigation is beginning, and we are at such a disadvantage. We're 9.5 years out and behind. And whether that was because there was some grand conspiracy to cover up a ton of stuff, maybe, but could it also be that they're there could have been some serious shit going on, but could it also be, could a lot of the stuff that is made it the quagmire that it is, could a lot of that be attributed to people just trying to cover up the smaller mistakes, and those smaller mistakes compounding and compounding and compounding to a point where, you know, it's like it's going to be an excavation of just wading through just shit, like trying to get to the closest version of what actually happened without knowing. So, yeah. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. I've actually got to get back to watering the plants and stuff. But hi, Lowlight. Hi. Waves and interweb slang. Yeah. Yeah, and Lowlight, so in all transparency, Lowlight was kind enough to give me his analysis. Was it? Yeah. So Lowlight did a very good video manipulations checks. And he gave me that, and then the integrity checks. And of course, they gave it to ChatGPT because I was like, I don't know what this is. And the program that he used confirmed that, yeah, it's a very valid file, right? But again, like, I think you're going to be limited by the program too. And that, like, a digital forensic detective would probably have to look at a lot of different reports, a lot of different software interpretations of it, program interpretations of it, in order to get to the bottom of it. So I think it was great what you did. And I saw that you were getting hate at the time. I was very excited. I should have asked your permission first. But Lowlight was getting a particular amount of hate at the time, and I wanted to talk about it. So, but that he is the person that I got this from, and I do very much appreciate it because he was able to go and do that. So I will say, like, do you want to say the program that you use, Lowlight? And then also, like, what was the file that you were looking at that you ran these tests on? Because also I've been talking with Christina, who says, like, the video as it shows up on, when they release it to the public on the 12th of March, 2025, Christina's showing that oh, Jesus, I'm going to have to look that up too. Where was it? Oh, I have no idea where it is. It's in one of these, but Christina basically saw, like, that it was that video, that encoding of that video was encoded on March 9th, 2025. That then was showing up, then was posted to the Rick Allen Justice website on the 12th of March. So I hope I'm getting that right. Okay, so Lowlight is showing us his work. FFmpeg exit tool, or exif tool. The file I used was the video. Always get a hash. I think I sent it to you. Yeah. Okay. So there's this. And then here, I'll stop. I'll do this. We'll do that just so it's not file format. Oh, wow. Yeah. And I think that is what Lowlight found. Oops. Okay. Encoded date March 9th. Okay. 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 I've been off Twitter because I had to exit out of it and I needed to sign back in. But to, low light, would it be, if people are wanting to get in touch with you, would it be okay if I think you guys can find him on X. I think you're open to everybody on X. I think it's at Noble Lie. To you or others off screen whenever. Okay. Yeah, because I think the people that would be, the best suited to hear it would probably be Christina, Artist, New Day, too. Um, they tried to groom us. Oh yeah, they did groom us for sure. We've all been groomed. Um, I'm not scared to be wrong. I'm not scared to be wrong either. That's why I was like, people can correct me if they want. Because I could be getting all of this incorrect too, you know, like what I just went through and stuff. But I think they are questions worth asking, especially like the stuff with Osbrook and what he just talked about on those transcripts. The phone data without the iPad dump, like all of that stuff I want to know about. I want to know what he's talking about. What does he mean? Because it looks like he has access to some stuff that we don't. Obviously, I mean, like he's closer to it, but these small towns, fog, science, yeah, controversial due to intrusive, right? Yeah, and Critter, like Alex Voorhees was like part of trying to petition at least David Vito. I'm sorry if you can hear. There was fog reveal that they wanted to look into to see if they could get some of that geofencing. It was a bit more advanced than just the regular geofencing. And yeah, let me do this. Has access to some data in general that the general public does not. Personally believe he does. I do too. Yeah. So, I mean, I just wanted to know what he was talking about. Now I know there's bad blood. Um, so I was volunteering unified demand without asking their permission too. I was like, yeah, I can arrange for you to speak with other people if you don't want to talk with me, but I don't know. I think they would do it and then ask for forgiveness later. But yeah, I was pretty excited when Lowlight gave me that stuff because it was like this is finally starting to make sense. And yeah, like I will say that I do really appreciate the work that I have Apophis has done. I will say I am not good at seeing it though, and I knew that it couldn't just be that I needed to be able to see it, see like the anomalies and stuff that he was discussing because I wanted other people to see it too. And I knew that other people were probably like me, where they didn't know, like they wouldn't be able to see the same things. So, yeah, we are all in this together. Yeah. So, yeah, I hope that helps. I don't know if Unified Demand's going to go live or not, but they would be probably tonight, hopefully. And, you know, we should go over there and watch them. I know they've got some big stuff coming up that they've been working on. And yeah, that like I know that a lot of the stuff was like a bit heavy and kind of boring, but I hope it answers some questions and maybe some questions will be answered because you never know unless you ask. right? One way to not know for sure is to never ask. So, yeah. But I love you guys. I hope everybody, it can be boring. It can be boring sometimes. But I hope everybody has a really good night, a good rest of your week. Look out for Unified Demand. Yeah, and Lowlight, check out Lowlight. I think he's at Noble Lie on X. And yeah, Christina too. Check out Christina. Oh, hey, Christina. Anybody else in here that has a channel that they want to promote, please do. And I hope to see you guys later this evening if there is another live. And yeah, stay safe, guys, too. The people dealing with some bad weather right now. Where is it? It's buffering. Oh, he only has 116,000 people watching right now. Ryan Hall, y'all. If you are in that area and you want to keep up to date. It was good to see you, Shay. Good to see you. That is what's going on weather-wise. So, okay, that's good. Okay. Yes. All right. Well, I'll talk to you guys later, and everybody have a good night. And Max Velocity too. He's good too. Yeah. So, yeah, I'll see you guys soon.